Is he good enough?
Of course he's not, because that's why they made the trade, right? They would never have made the trade if he was good enough and his ceiling was high. That to me really stood out watching the. I was pretty locked into the Rams Tampa game just because I wanted to see how Matt looked, and he looked how an elite guy should look. Like
Yep.
he has elite talent. Like his physical attributes are elite. Jimmy's are not. Just that in a vacuum. Now, just because you have physical elite attributes does not mean you're going to be an elite quarterback. We see all the time quarterbacks with huge, great physical talent not live up to the kind of the hype or what we thought. I think Carson Wentz is a guy that probably is never going to live up to what he could have been. Jimmy doesn't even have that.
Hey, we're glad you're watching this video. Give it a like and subscribe to our channel.
Yep. Also, check out our podcast below in the description.
We are sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka.
#1 vodka in America. Go get yourself some.
Savor responsibly.
And then you go, well, okay, so Jimmy's going to play like I'm just going to use this guy and work down. Drew Breesy, but kind of Kirk Cousins-y. Hell, Derek Carey, even though Derek's attributes are better, he can't really even do that because he is not Mr. I'm in control of every throw. I wouldn't say gets flustered, but his pocket movement is sometimes a little erratic. Not that he's like scared, but he like runs to like 3 feet away. He's not a slider. He's like a runner, and then he'll like run into the back of people. It's kind of bizarre. He's not the most fluid player in the pocket. Like you watch Tom's spatial awareness, and I know he's the greatest quarterback of all time, so he's even a bad example, but the Rivers, I mean, all the pocket quarterbacks of that little area is pretty elite. I feel like Jimmy is always caught in between, like, can I just go scramble outside the tackle box and go make a play, or do I got to stay in here like Bill, Josh, and Kyle have taught me? And then sometimes he just gets lost in no man's land, and then he'll make a throw and it'll like skip. Or he'll like put too much on it and he'll sail everybody. Even the DBs will be like, whoa, didn't see that one coming. Be like, what is going on? But then, because he's had some of the greatest coaching in the history of the league, and he is a talented player, right? He's an NFL 18 to 25 guy. He could make a stretch in a big game too. Like that final drive, you're like, make some throws. Now he gets bailed out by an incredible catch or two. But this team is not as good as a Super Bowl team because their running game is clearly not as good, and their secondary with the corners aren't as good. He is then going to be a problem because he is at best the same, but if my logic of you're either getting better or getting worse, he's probably gotten a little worse since then. That's a problem, and you kind of felt it tonight. Like he's not, obviously he can't just duel Aaron Rodgers, but I thought tonight for the most part, if I had to give him a grade, it'd be like C-.
Yeah, I don't think he's worse than he was in 19. I think what we're seeing though is he's definitely going to need to be asked to do more. There were a couple games he was asked to do a lot in 19, but we saw how things played out in the playoffs. We saw what Kyle thought at the end of the first half of the Super Bowl. Like the evidence was there then where the ceiling was, right? And what was required around him. And I'm talking about like to be a Super Bowl contender. Right now what we're talking about is he enough to get this team to the playoffs? Because that's where they need to get first and foremost.
Do you think Packer fans truly deep down to their core know how good they have it? It'd be hard. You almost get
from Brett to Aaron. I mean,
I just mean truly with Aaron for this last decade, like just to be able to watch that.
No, I think you probably think this is what it's about. Yeah, the guy's open, you hit him in stride. What's the big deal? Right? It's like, well, most guys don't hit him in stride. It's 60% of the time or whatever Aaron's number is.
He's pretty remarkable, and that really kind of shines a light on the other guy. Not as remarkable.
When you see them side by side. I think what shines a light, there's a couple things. You mentioned Matthew Stafford. Look, one of my big takeaways this week 3 Sunday was that was one of the biggest games I think Howie Long said it. That's one of the biggest games Matthew Stafford's ever played in his career. Now,
Aikman thought it was.
So he stepped up in that moment, and he looked fantastic. I'm with you. Like, and Cooper Kupp, Deshaun Jackson. Hello, Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson, who is, by the way, like if he's healthy, he's one of the greatest big players in the history of the sport, right?
Well, I
think tonight he tied the record for most 75-yard catches 9. This is the 9th 75-yard pass play of his career, which tied the NFL record.
I saw a great tweet tonight. Deshaun becomes the first player in league history to stop at the 1-yard line while people are chasing him to fuck with him in 3 separate decades.
That's a great tweet.
Because he's so far ahead that he kind of runs around. You know, once he gets to the 10, he does his little thing. He's done that in 3 separate decades.
It's incredible.
It really was true.
So Stafford, Russell, Kyler, there's a massive gap between 3 and 4 in the NFC West in terms of quarterback play. But I think the biggest thing with Garoppolo is that he's not, sound crazy, Alex Smith. Can he make the plays that Derek Carr can make on the high end? No. Can he make the plays that you hope Trey Lance can make if you're Kyle Shanahan? No, physically. But he also doesn't not make the mistakes that Alex Smith never made. And that's a dangerous place to be.
He's not a naturally accurate quarterback. You know,
he's not naturally accurate, but there is some. I think the original comp of Tony Romo, there was a lot of accuracy to that.
It feels like Tony was more gifted, though.
It feels like Tony was more gifted, but there is an element of, and this is fun. Like, I would want this in anybody I played with. I'd want to be that. You want to be a playmaker. It's one thing Alex understood. Like, there's a limitation to my skills. And if I try to play outside of them, bad things happen. And it's not worth offsetting the good things I do on the low percentage chance that those plays get made. And luckily for him, he's got Deebo Samuel, two, I would say right now, of the best contested catch makers in the league, Kittle and Deebo. And so he's got that, and that's good. And it's all about get those guys the ball. And sometimes get those guys the ball means just get them the ball, even if there's a linebacker coming. And how many balls did it? Deebo almost got. It was either the 3 things were going to happen: interception, decapitation, or a catch. Hey, go to DraftKings right now. Use the code HAM. There's a link below in the description.
Yep, get in our game. Also, you want to gamble? Monday Night Football is tonight. Eagles at the Cowboys. MyBookie.ag, promo code HAM, and the number 1. Deebo easily could have been laying there like Devontae on him, but didn't play.
Like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Ayuk got in some, there were just some contested areas that Jimmy. Listen, Jimmy.
And tonight they had to do that, John, right? Like tonight they had to.
Well, that's my
point. Playing
from
behind.
Back to what I said, though, you're not always going to be against really good teams. Like, you get down 10-0. It's the ebb and flow of a good NFL game. Can you come back? And usually you have to come back by throwing the ball. The problem with Jimmy is, like, he can have drives where he looks like the 12th best quarterback in the NFL. Just a drive where he hits a couple guys, the plays are sweet, their players are sweet. It just looks really good.
Some of those, like, flat-footed reload throws that he zips.
Boom, yeah.
He does some really good things.
He also does some of the dumbest shit you'll ever see. Let's just think about the pick he threw. It wasn't even close. He airmailed him. And maybe in his mind he's thinking he doesn't see 23 coming across. So he goes, if I'm going to miss over, and I'm not accurate enough to, like, I'm just going to put it out there, and if he can run under it, great. But he clearly doesn't see the corner, who makes a fantastic play, but leads to an interception. Then, the other play, like you mentioned, Alex knew his limitations and played within it.
By the way, can I make one other point on that last play before you jump ahead? This is to your point about Kyle. Like, that ball's going to Kittle. Like, that's a tough. If you're not a separator, that's a tough play to make.
But Kittle's
for a tight end that far. Yeah, I'm just saying. But for a tight end that far down the field, it's just, even for one of the best tight ends ever, it's a hard play to make. Anyway, sorry.
You don't often see Travis Kelce catch like 40-yard in the air balls, or even
Vernon.
Waller.
Maybe you see Vernon do it, right?
Yeah,
Kittle does it, but usually it's like he's schemed wide open, not when you're step for step with a guy.
True, you're right. That was definitely a scheme play throughout the week. And Jair Alexander, who is an elite player and is going to get paid, made a great play. So, hell, maybe Kyle would, if he was sitting here, once he watched the tape, say that, listen, that's more of a great play than a bad throw or whatever. Maybe that's true. He had so many plays tonight in the pocket where it didn't feel like he had a great presence of the pocket and kind of knew where to go. There is an instinctual element to be able to flow and step up. That watching Jacoby today. Jacoby's pretty good at, like, stepping up. Like,
he looked more athletic today than normal.
Well, he's kind of heavy-footed, but yeah, I mean, he just looked like he had a very confident, understanding of kind of where to go in the lanes. And I'm sure they hammer that home. I don't know, in New England's quarterback school. And Jimmy's then been with the quarterback school with Kyle and the guys. And it still feels like he's lost. And then that ball that he threw behind the line of scrimmage, not behind the line of scrimmage. He was behind the line of scrimmage, but behind himself. Like, what are you doing? Like, that is the quintessential. Alex wouldn't make that play if you paid him $1 million to make it. He'd refuse. He would just go down. And I would say most good quarterbacks, non-mobile quarterbacks, just hit the ground there, right? And that is the double edge of the sword when you try to play like that. Is a Tony Romo-ish play. You're just trying to do too much. Like, what the fuck are you doing? You're trying to do like a 360 in front of a defender. It's just a disaster waiting to happen. And the only thing possible that could have happened there, because he was throwing it forward, but he got turned around pointing at the other end zone, and it's like, hey, Jimmy, when you throw it backwards, the ball is live. That was a disaster, guy. That was a disaster. My jaw was wide open on that one.
I think you sent me. Was that the play that made you send me the gif of Joey from Friends just
that was crazy.
Jaw open? And I said,
I've never seen it.
I've never seen that play before. Where the quarterback, I've seen quarterbacks like lose the ball trying to pull it back, but I've never seen the quarterback pointing the wrong. Because even Garoppolo's going, no, I was throwing. And he was right. I don't know. Did he realize he threw it backwards? I don't think he did realize that, or maybe he probably did. You're just making the argument. And by the way, another spot where Chris Collinsworth was immediately on the right thing. But,
see, that could have been devastating. I think they held him to a field goal. I mean, that could have been the game.
Yeah.
Jimmy tried to give the game away on that play.
Yeah, some of the great plays he makes are you need because in some ways you're making up for some of the bad plays.
Well, it's like he retracts right away. That's the thing. He can throw a touchdown to use check, and you're just going, Jesus, this guy's got some moxie. The very next play, as he's falling, he throws it right to a D tackle or something. You know,
well, there's
the bonehead plays at 30 years old, guy. He's not a 24-year-old player.
Well, there's an explanation for it, which is that's the whole package. It's not sometimes he's hot, sometimes he's cold. This is what it is. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But this is the package.
I just don't. My other takeaway tonight, if you truly evaluate him, unless you're just completely desperate, I don't know how you could trade a lot for him. I mean, I'd take him for like a fourth, but you
couldn't trade a first.
Could you trade a second for that?
I don't think so because this is it. This is the package. This is it.
He's 30.
Now,
could you do it like a late third, if you're desperate like Steelers or something, for sure?
Yeah, to me the question's like, you're Washington football team and it's 2022. What do? You roll with Fitzpatrick again? You might. You draft a quarterback? You might. I mean, you should draft a quarterback, but
where Jimmy's value could stay around higher is if this quarterback class could be really bad. It could be viewed as not many NFL quarterbacks, which is just from
just
the naked eye.
Hainer and everybody else. Yeah.